Meteorologist Aaron Saray.
And I'm student meteorologist Evan O'Regan.
And today we'll have a great show here planned out. But to start off in our overview, the current surface map does show that cold front right now across much of the nation's heartland.
That's right, and that will start to set up our next storm system that'll develop going into this weekend, starting over the Rockies and making its way towards the northeast.
That's right. And of course, on our local radar, doesn't show much right now, but will that change this upcoming weekend?
All right, we'll have to see. But it's been nice around here, very warm. And as for tonight's headlines, we do have rain severe for the deep south, including Tennessee and Alabama, a wintry mess for the north going into the weekend, and dry and warm in Tallahassee. How long will that last? All that and more on FSU weather.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to FSU Weather. Thank you so much for tuning in. And right now, that sun is setting down at Doak Campbell Stadium. I mean, look at that shine right there. But we're starting to cool down a little bit. We are sitting at 73 degrees, partly cloudy skies, but it is clearing out right now. Those winds are pretty mild, sitting at 10 miles per hour. So up in Quincy, it's a little bit warmer. We got 77 degrees up there, 78 in Donaldsonville, and a little bit cooler down in the coast with 69 degrees over in Apalachicola. So our current radar right now, there isn't really much going on. It's pretty clear. You can see some spots in the southeast are experiencing some spotty showers, but for tonight's forecast, we are going to see some clouds again. It's going to cool down to the mid-50s, and even down tomorrow, it's going to warm back up again into the 80s. So what do we got? Heavy rain and severe for the south, wintry weather for the north, and cold air invasion. Now we're going to turn it over to the desk with Aaron.
Thanks, Christian. That's right. We actually do have the risk for some severe weather coming up tonight and continuing on into tomorrow, possibly for places like Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi. And of course, along with that as well, we do have a flash flood watch across much of the state of Tennessee and Alabama and Mississippi as well. Of course, with that flooding rain, could see upwards of 2 inches possibly. And of course, in localized areas, you could see a lot of rain piling up at once. So again, do make sure you are prepared for that because, of course, rain and water is one of the most hazardous conditions, of course, for weather and infecting humans, of course, and really extends a lot with hurricanes and other stuff. But of course, a lot of it has to do with these storms that are moving its way gradually along a cold front. And of course, I'll explain more on the desk here. And of course, as we go on to much of the nation's heartland, we have that cold front right now that is bringing that severe weather chance right now across places like Alabama, Texas, and much of the Tennessee and Ohio River valleys, of course, right now. Our dew points actually do have a factor in this. We do have a warmer or a higher dew point coming in out of the south. That's allowing for that warmer, more moist air to come in from the Gulf of Mexico out ahead of that cold front right here behind where those dew points are a lot lower. So DFW right now is sitting in the 20s. Of course, that's dry air behind that cold front. Over the next 48 hours, we'll see that dew point going down closer to the Gulf Coast. It might fluctuate a little bit, of course, with the daytime heating and all that, but generally speaking, it looks like it will probably hang out around central Alabama until it then starts to go back to the north. So we won't get into this dry air, at least right now, but of course, later on in the week, we might see potentially for some cooler and drier weather. And for our severe weather potential right now, we have that slight risk over places like in northern Alabama, so Huntsville, over towards Tupelo, Mississippi, and up into south central Tennessee has a slight chance. That's about level 2 out of 5 on, of course, the severe weather index, of course. And we do have some possibility of some organized thunderstorms as well, as even at places like northeastern Louisiana and into southeastern Arkansas, but that's a marginal risk over there. And then as for tomorrow, we don't expect any organized severe weather, but may see a rumble or two across Dallas-Fort Worth, kind of arcing back towards Atlanta. Over the next 48 hours, we'll see that cold front begin to dive and make its way down to the south. We'll see possibly some wintry precipitation up to places like Little Rock, over towards Tennessee, and up into Kentucky. But of course, a lot of it is going to come in the form of rain, which does go with that flood watch into places like central Tennessee, so Nashville, over towards Knoxville, over in the Appalachian Mountains. And of course, the rainfall forecast, here's one of the computer models right here. You will see that bullseye right between about Nashville over to Knoxville right here. So some places are like Gatlinburg up in the mountains might see some even localized heavy flooding. And looks like we could see possibly 5 to even 7 inches of rain, and of course locally higher amounts in some spots. So do make sure if you are planning or if you are there currently to watch out for that rain. And here are those flood watches I was mentioning, extending from places like northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, all the way up to about West Virginia and Ohio, and of course up into northern parts of New England as well. They're seeing some precipitation over there as well. In Birmingham, Alabama, we'll see those temperatures rising up to about 75 degrees, so pretty toasty for this time of year for Birmingham, Alabama. But of course, behind the cold front, we will drop down into the upper 50s for high temperatures, and it looks like we'll see low 50s for lows there. And of course, we want to watch out, make sure again you do bring that umbrella with the patch of the cold front. We'll see some showers, but I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of the rain and the cool temperature. How about you, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, luckily around Tallahassee, we won't be seeing any rainfall, at least for the foreseeable future here. And those warm temperatures will continue to persist throughout the week here, staying in the low 80s as we go towards the weekend here. There's that sun setting over Doak Campbell Stadium right now. Currently 73 degrees on the thermometer, south-southeast breeze at 10 miles an hour. So that's really helped to moisten things up and raise our humidity levels over the past 24 hours or so. We did get up to a high of 78 today, so we flirted with the 80s. We did start out at 52 this morning, so above our average in both highs and low temperatures today. And we didn't come close to our record, but we will make a run at that temperature over the next few days or so, going into the low and maybe even middle 80s by the time we get to say Thursday, maybe Friday. So as I said, we did start out in the low and mid 50s this morning. We worked our way up to the upper 70s this afternoon. A really nice day out there today. Nice, maybe a little bit humid, but that breeze has really helped to cool things off. Currently around the area, still sitting in the middle 70s, maybe even upper 70s up here in southern Georgia. A little bit cooler down the coast at St. Mark's at 69 with that breeze coming off the water there. That'll be a factor tomorrow too. I'll show you that later as well. Dew points, like I said, are pretty elevated for this time of the year, sitting in the low 60s. So again, that's due to that moisture coming off the Gulf with that southerly breeze. As for the local radar, not much to see at all. It's been a pretty clear day around here, just some scattered clouds here and there. None of those are rain-bearing, which is always good news. And like I said, we won't see any of that rainfall in the future. And you might say, well, wait a minute, what's this rainfall on the future radar here? That's actually fog, and that's due to that tropical moisture being evected up from actually the Bermuda High out in the Atlantic with that south-southeast flow, and that'll override some of the cooler waters we have here down in the Gulf. And when that happens, that'll start to form some of that fog, and that can advect inland. So that will be a factor tomorrow morning and also throughout the week as well. So you might see that not only tomorrow morning, but for the next mornings to come as well. So make sure you take it slow for the next few mornings, just in case you run into any of that fog. As for tonight, generally sitting in the middle 50s, maybe even upper 50s down towards the shore, say Carabel sitting at 59. So that'll create that high launching pad for tomorrow, going into the middle 80s in some spots, saying Valdosta around 85, and here in Tallahassee a little bit cooler at 82. But again, down towards the shore, you can see only sitting in the middle 70s. That's due to that onshore breeze that we have here coming from the south off the cooler waters of the Gulf. If you're planning on going out tonight, and it's still pretty warm, maybe just a long sleeve shirt, just because temperatures might be going to the upper 50s, but not all that bad there. As for tomorrow, looks like a great day to walk your dog. Won't need a jacket at all. And similar story throughout the week. Generally staying in the low 80s, a little bit cooler as we go towards the weekend and the beginning of next week, sitting in the upper 60s. So what do you think about that, Aaron?
Looks like a little taste of spring right there with 80s, of course, ahead of the summer season coming up in a few months. So if you like the warm weather, then now is your time to go outside. And as for our weekly planner across much of the nation, we see temperatures pretty below average for much of the central and even stretching into places into the northeastern part of the U.S. Down into our neck of the woods, we are seeing temperatures in the 80s, of course, here in Tallahassee and Miami being some of the warmer spots across much of the country, probably for the next few days or so. And Thursday's highs, we'll see that cold front advance a little bit further off to the south and the east, bringing, again, those cooler temperatures. So high temperatures in the 50s and 30s up in Dallas-Fort Worth, and even in the single digits, you get up to places like Bismarck in North Dakota. Of course, there might be also with that snowfall possible along places from about Dallas up to about Louisville, Kentucky. And Friday's highs, we'll see those temperatures again dropping as you get further off to the northeast on Friday. So Boston may get down to 35 with possibly some wintry precipitation. So probably a mix about around that point. And then down to DC, we're at the mid-50s. But don't want to forget about our friends along the West Coast. They're sitting comfortably, as always, in the 50s and 60s along the west coast of California. And up towards Seattle, we are sticking in the upper 40s, of course. And then along much of the interior Rockies are sitting in the 30s. And as for Saturday's highs, we'll see that cold front advance once more, a little bit further off to the south, but not quite, because you see the 81 right there down here in Tallahassee. And as for Sunday, looks like the cold front will begin to go up as a warm front up into places further north. And of course, temperatures compared to average for Friday evening, we'll see those temperatures really below average across San Antonio up towards the Midwest. So again, it gets to kind of reinforces the idea of why we live in Florida, right?
That's right. And it looks like with those temperatures compared to average, March might come in like a lion, as it sometimes does, with those temperatures much cooler compared to average. But now we'll take a look at the state of Florida, that great state of Florida that we live in. Really been a gorgeous day, sitting in the upper 70s in many places. Gainesville still sitting at 80 degrees, and that sun is setting there behind me in Panama City. Boy, does that look great. I would love to be there right now, sitting on that beach. But as for right now, current temperatures around the peninsula, generally sitting in the upper 70s, maybe a hot spot at Tampa at 82, but still widespread sunshine, just a few patchy clouds here and there. It's been a great day to get outside and go to that beach in Panama City that I would love to be at right now. But right now on the radar, not a whole lot to see. Just a few showers coming off the Atlantic with that onshore flow just to the north of Miami along I-95. And there's a closer look at that. You can kind of see those showers coming in there. So if you're planning on driving along I-95 within the next few hours or so, just be prepared to turn on your windshield wipers, get some of that nuisance rain off there. Not a whole lot to worry about there. No big downpours to worry about. The next 48 hours, though, generally rain-free. Just a few showers there tonight in the middle of the state, but temperatures still are quite mild, still spiking up into the middle 80s, still by this time Thursday, sitting in the upper 70s for the majority of the state, a little bit cooler up there in the Panhandle, but still gorgeous weather, no real threat of any heavy rainfall, quite the contrast from what Tennessee is experiencing right now. Miami generally staying in the lower 80s for the next 3 days, plenty of sunshine, just a little bit of cloud cover, not all that bad, and it might be a pretty good day to go out there on the beach. A little bit cooler in the water, though, 71 on the water temperature there, but still a great day to go out there. You won't have to worry about that sunburn. UV index is only a 1, so you won't have to worry about getting a sunburn out there, but still great day to go out there and enjoy yourself. As for Tampa, a little bit warmer, 86 tomorrow, 88 on Thursday, so very warm there. Maybe want to turn on your AC there. Might be that time for that part of the year yet, but much warmer there than compared to Miami. As for Orlando, also sitting in the upper 80s, 87 on Wednesday, 88 Thursday, 87 Friday. Still plenty of sunshine, just a little bit of cloud cover. It's just gorgeous out there. And as for Jacksonville, just a touch cooler, only sitting in the middle 80s, but still plenty of sunshine out there. Just some filtered sunshine with those clouds sitting out there. And as for Pensacola, sliding a little bit towards the west, cooler in Pensacola, sitting in the middle 70s, dropping out to the low 70s by the time we get to Friday, with just a slight shower chance. As for Panama City, if you're planning on going out to the beach, water temperature sitting at 60, so a little bit chilly, but again, you don't have to worry about that sunburn with UV index of 1. As for tonight's lows, generally sitting in the middle 60s in the middle part of the state, and as for tomorrow, temperatures spike up again into the upper 80s in some places, and I would not be surprised if interior locations touch 90 degrees. What do you think about that, Christian?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Florida can be pretty unpredictable sometimes, but you know what they say, we live in paradise, right? I mean, we got beaches all around Florida, and it is quite warm here in comparison to the rest of the country. But taking another quick look in the local forecast right now, the sun is still setting right behind Bill Campbell Stadium. Look at that orange glow, it's really gorgeous. We are still sitting at 73 degrees, and so for our temperatures right now, it has warmed up a little bit more than our typical average. For our highs and our lows, we're actually still warmer as well, but we were not close to that record, but we were getting a little bit up there into the warmth. But currently in the interior part of the Big Bend, it is 74 degrees for us here in Tallahassee. Even in Monticello, it's a little bit warmer up in the southwestern part of Georgia, and along the coast, it is a little bit cooler. They're still sitting in the upper 60s, and that is because of that sea breeze coming in from the moisture in the Gulf. And so the current dew points, it has been a little bit more humid than it would be typically in this part of the year. But in Donaldsonville, it looks like it's a little bit less dry. Donaldsonville is sitting at 56. Thomasville is 57. And of course, down along the coast, it is a little bit more humid. There isn't much to speak of right now in the sky. It has gotten very clear and it is very gorgeous, and there are some spotty showers up in the southwestern part of Georgia, southeast Alabama, and even further west in the Panhandle, but nothing too major. And as Evan said earlier, there are some of these clouds coming in, but that is mainly going to be the fog that is kicking in from all of that moisture in the Gulf of Mexico. So just be careful if you are driving in the middle of the night and the early parts of the morning. And even into the overnight, we're still going to be seeing some very clear skies into the early part of this evening. It's going to be nice and cool at 62 degrees. And overnight, we are going to be dipping into the upper 50s, mid 50s, and around 3 a.m. it looks like those clouds and maybe fog is going to start to be coming in. And so for the dog walk forecast this morning, it was beautiful. It would be at 61 degrees, so that's pretty nice. And noon, it already starts to warm up a little bit, so it's still not too bad to be walking your dog. And 3 p.m., well, that's a lot warmer, right in the 80s. But for tonight, those clouds will be still starting to come in with 54 degrees. We are starting to cool down a little bit more, and then even into tomorrow, the sun is going to be coming back out. It's going to be 82 degrees, and for the rest of the week, looks like it's going to be a little bit of precipitation until the weekend. There's not going to be that much going on until we get into next week. We are starting to cool back down into the mid to upper 60s. What do you think about that, Evan?
Well, I got to say, it's pretty warm around here, but jumping into the winter weather now, it's from one extreme to another. We're going to have that big snowstorm that we were talking about for a second earlier that's going to develop over the much of the country and affect, well, much of the country. We still, on the big picture here, there's that cold air starting to spill in. Billings sitting at -4 right now. Denver's sitting at 6, so there's that cold air starting to spill in, and that'll start up an ice storm here, actually around places like Oklahoma, going into Missouri also, and eventually that'll work its way off towards the northeast towards Friday. There's part of an exiting system right now around Marquette. Snow is starting to wrap up there, and as we work our way towards the west, this is where we start to see our developing low pressure here. We do have a little bit of snow showers near just south of Boise right now. But the real thing I want you to notice here is this counterclockwise swirl around the Nevada-California border. That's going to be our developing low pressure system that'll slide towards the south and east around Oklahoma over the next couple days. That'll start our ice storm. And again, here's some of those snow showers working their way into the mountains of California here. And it looks like we actually did a little bit of a hail report there in California. You don't see that too often. But zooming out here, here is that big setup that we have going into this weekend. There's that low pressure that'll slide towards places like Denver, dip down towards the south, and get some of that Gulf moisture. And then really, we have that ice storm going to places like Oklahoma, into southern Missouri, Illinois and Indiana here, and that'll also slide towards places like New York by the weekend. And we also have this big shield of snow extending into places into Canada as well. Current snow cover, pretty snowy across much of the northern tier of the country, and this next storm system will start to fill in places like a little bit south of Chicago into northern Indiana as well. You guys have been missing out on that snow cover. You guys will get in on that action this weekend. As for current winter storm alerts out west, we do have widespread winter weather advisories for places like Salt Lake City and the blues, and in the purples we have those winter storm warnings as well. And here is that into the future, that developing low pressure that'll start to bring heavy snow. You see those really deep blues is that really heavy snowfall in the mountains of Arizona, and that'll start to work its way towards the east. And there's the start of that ice storm in Oklahoma. As for snowfall, some places could see upwards of 2 feet of snow into the mountains, and that might seem like a lot, but I'm sure those people in the mountains of Colorado are used to it and would welcome that snow this time of the year. There is that winter storm warning for that ice storm that we have coming for Oklahoma and southern Missouri. And again, here it is on the future radar. As that swoops in from the west, there it is, that ice storm. That pink color is that ice, and that'll slide towards the east as we work our way into Thursday morning. Still going here, and then it finally goes into places like Indiana by the time we get to this time on Thursday. So make sure you guys are taking all your necessary precautions and preparations as we go throughout time here. We also do have winter storm warnings for the northern part of the country in Wisconsin. We also do have blizzard warnings for the Dakotas. It's for that blowing and drifting snow, so make sure that you guys are being careful there and not taking any unnecessary risks. As we go throughout time here we go, pushing its way towards the northeast. And again, there's that storm system down to the south that'll work its way eventually up towards the northeast. And there it is, working its way towards the northeast as we go forward in time. Here's the Gfs Snowfall working its way. There's that little bullseye, maybe a foot, maybe more in New England. And here it is on the Euro. Pretty similar, maybe just a little bit down towards the south. But places like Detroit will also get on some of this action. 29 for tomorrow. And again, there's that snowfall on Friday. 29, 70% chance of snow in the morning. Now pass things off to Christian.
My goodness, Evan, all of that cold weather happening, it really makes you think that we should be grateful to be living in such a warm state such as Florida. But as we look into the northeast, we're going to see that majority of Canada is basically covered with a good feet or two of snow, and it even creeps into the rest of New England here in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And so for the current temperatures right now, it's actually pretty warm for the northeast in general for this time of year. 42 in Burlington, Buffalo, over in New York, 52, and all the way down into Pittsburgh, it is 60 degrees. Maine is a little bit cooler in the mid-30s, but it is still rather warm for that area as well. And you can see the storm is actually passing by right now. As Evan mentioned earlier, it is very rainy and wet, and so there is a little bit of that mixed precipitation going on right now along the border of Canada. And so for everybody that is driving home right now, please be careful. It is possibly going to be very slippery on the road. And looking into Pennsylvania right now, you see a lot of that stormy showers are starting to get out of the state, and it is heading over into New Jersey and for much of the North Atlantic. And looking into New York right now, it is also just now coming in and passing through, and there might be a little bit of that lake effect happening here over in Lake Ontario. But as you see that when we move on into the northeast, looks like Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts is going to start to see some of this right now, and even later on into this evening, they will still be dealing with much of that rainy weather. So right now, we do have some winter storm alerts. The majority of Maine, there is some advisories, and so there's not too much more of winter storm alerts at the moment, but just be advised, be careful, listen to your local broadcasts and radio stations. We're taking a look at Philadelphia right now. It is currently in the mid to lower 60s, and that's pretty much about the same temperature that we feel right now. So it is raining. It is going to continue to rain this evening, but it is starting to clear up a little bit as we get into the overnight hours. And then even into the next couple of days and starting with this weekend, that storm will be making its way out, and that snow cover is starting to creep down again with Canada, but it's also going to be mixing in with that low pressure system that Evan mentioned earlier coming from the southwest. And so this whole area right here is going to be dealing with some mixed precipitation, additional snow, and then even more rain, but it will cool down. Much of the northeast is going to be in the 10s, 20s, and 30s. This is the Gfs Snowfall right now, and it is currently about a foot or two of snow, especially here in southern Vermont and states of New York, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. And then similarly for the European model, they are pointing a little bit further south for that, but is rather similar. So for the most part in the New England states and New York State, you are going to have the most snowfall for the country within the next weekend or so. And for tonight in Boston, or excuse me, the next 3 days, right now you are having some clouds clearing up, but it's pretty warm at 65 degrees. That is going to quickly change as we get into Thursday and Friday as you dip down into the mid to lower 30s. And that snow is going to definitely be happening on Friday. And for tonight's lows, right now it's still pretty warm, 52 in Burlington. Boston, you are sitting at 56, and you are having some of that rain happening right now in Bangor in Maine as well. And for tomorrow's highs, it is already going to start to be cooling down. It's already 32 degrees in Syracuse, 58 in Boston. You're still going to be pretty warm, but you will start to cool down in a little bit. And as for Bangor, Maine, well, then the next 7 days, you are starting to see a little bit of cooling as we get into this weekend. And wow, even into next week, it's still going to be in the mid the 20s for the most part. But what do you think of the rest of that happening in Northeast, Evan?
Well, that's a little bit chilly for my taste. I don't know if I want to be there right now. I'd much rather prefer this Florida weather. And speaking of the Florida weather, if you plan on going out tonight, lower 60s to start off at 9 o'clock and working their way through the 50s by the time we get to 3 o'clock this morning. There again is that overview of this developing storm system. There's that low pressure that'll swing down towards the south and east over the next couple days, and that severe threat in Tennessee right now. And there's that rain threat with Tennessee, that flash flooding risk. Places could see 3 to 5 inches fall, so make sure you turn around and don't drown. I know that's an overused phrase sometimes, but we do need to say it a lot of times just so that people can make sure that they heed that warning. And there again is the Gfs Snowfall. Places in New England could see 12 to 15 inches of snow from this next snowstorm on Friday. And again, here's that future radar of that cold air coming down towards the south, that ice storm for Oklahoma and Missouri, and that'll swing up towards the northeast by the time we get to the weekend. Now I'm going to pass things over to Aaron for one last look at our local forecasts.
That's right, Evan. And of course, here we don't have to worry about any kind of rain. But of course, if you are up in Tennessee, make sure to turn around and don't drown, of course, because flooding is probably one of the biggest killers in weather, of course. And currently over Doak Campbell Stadium, it's a beautiful 73 degrees right now across the area. So very beautiful time to go walk outside, maybe walk your dog as well. Our current local temperatures are in the 70s and 60s across the area. A little bit of a marine influence right there with a little bit of sea breeze right there for St. Mark's over to Crawfordville and down towards Appalachia right now, sitting in the mid-60s. Our local radar does show not much. Of course, with those beautiful skies overhead you saw on the camera right there, no rain, at least in terms of the immediate area. You might see a few pop-up sprinkles up towards Dothan and over towards Alabama. And for future radar, we do see that clouds coming in and some fog, of course. It's not rain, it's fog coming in for the Big Bend area of Florida. This will come in from the Gulf as well. And so really that's pretty much it, for at least for the tomorrow in terms of cloud cover. And for tonight's forecast, we'll see those temperatures go down into the 50s and possibly 60s across much of the area. And again, it's going to be very pleasant if you are going to head outside today or tonight. And of course tomorrow, even pleasant if you are in the 80s, of course, with those nice temperatures. But the week ahead shows those 80s and 70s, of course, we get down to the rest of the week. But now I'll turn things back over to the wall.
That's right. Thanks for that, Aaron. I don't know about you, Christian. I mean, the 80s for Tallahassee are not uncommon, but in February it's a little uncommon. And from the north, I'm from the north, but it definitely feels weird to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, as a Floridian myself, I did grow up in South Florida, so it's not terribly uncommon. Although if I'm moving here from South Florida, I would expect to have a little bit more seasons here in Tallahassee. And you know what? It's been pretty nice. I've enjoyed the winter weather, but I think it's time to move on to spring. What do you think?
Yeah, January was definitely a cold one, and I think things will start to change here. March might come in like a little bit like a line. I saw NOAA release their 8 to 14 day temperature outlook for the beginning of March, and it is a little bit below average for the east. But in the meantime, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at FSU Weather.
And please also follow us on Facebook, like our Facebook page.
And that's right. If you're not already, you guys can always watch us live on YouTube at youtube.com/FSU Weather.
And of course, we always love to see all your photos. Please send them to our Instagram page, FSU Weather.
That's right. We also love to see your dog photos. For our dog walk forecast, if you want to have that featured in our show, always make sure to DM us on Instagram and send us those photos. We'd love to see those.
Yes, thank you so much. And from everybody here at FSU Weather, enjoy the weather right now. It's nice and calm. And I am student meteorologist Christian Palacio.
I'm student meteorologist Evan O'Regan. Have a great night, guys, and stay safe.